been a minute since I've done one of these,
Yeah,
but we are back. Positive Rate Aviation Podcast, episode 5. And man, I always say this, but man, this one really does hit different with this guest that I have on today. Um, Kind of been a long time in the making. We've been trying to make this one happen, trying to align
yeah,
schedules and whatnot. But obviously, you are a very busy man, as am I. But you do a lot of traveling, obviously, with what you do for a living. So, yeah, without
yeah,
further
yeah.
ado, episode 5. The title of this one is "Keep Climbing." And our guest today is Michael George. Mike, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you been, man?
Good, good, man. Definitely happy and excited to have you on. Like I
Yeah,
said, this one has kind of been in the works for a long time. So appreciate you kind of taking some time. I know you got a lot going on. You're in the process of kind of moving and in between
yeah.
trips right now, man. So I definitely appreciate you sparing me a little bit of your time to put this content out. So
I'm
um,
happy to be here. Appreciate you getting me on.
yeah, man. Definitely, man. Wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah. So with that, man, kind of our slogan here is to, lead others to their full potential, through the lens of aviation, right? And I think that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you pretty much embody that. You know what I mean? Just the way that you handle your business, you carry yourself, man. And in the few short years that I've known you, it's just been A1, all around, man. So definitely big ups on that. Um, so yeah, dude, you are the first. You're actually my first major airline pilot that I have on the
oh,
pod, man.
nice.
So yeah. So this one, that's why I
I
was
gotta set the
extra
bar high.
excited. Yeah, for real. I mean, and a lot of people might even argue, man, that you have you probably have what I would say is the dream job for about 95 to 98% of people in aviation.
Yeah,
So yeah, we gonna definitely get into that a little bit more. But yeah, man. So Mike is currently a first officer with Delta Airlines, and currently flying the 767. Right?
yeah.
Yep,
Seven
yep.
five,
Currently
seven
flying this.
six.
Yep, 7576. Okay. So so yeah, with that, man, kind of talk to me a little bit about what got you started in aviation, and we'll kind of go from there and kind of leading up to where you are, kind of sitting present day. Like, why? What was your why? I guess is what I'm getting at with aviation.
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a pilot since I grew up. So like I live right by New York, by JFK. So like I get to, in the summer, I get to watch the plane lands. Like they're like 200 feet over my head during the summer, and I'd be like out with my grandfather, like just watching on the balcony, watching the planes. So that really got me interested in aviation. And then my dad, he worked ramp at American Airlines, at JFK. So like he'd come back and we'll talk about airplanes, and I always tell him, "Yo, I want to go to work with you." And that's kind of just like build it up, just seeing the airplanes every day, and my dad working as a ramp agent, and he'll like show me pictures sometimes of the airplanes that got me excited. And when I went on family trips and got on an airplane, it was just, I don't know, it was just like, man, this is so cool. So
Yeah,
every
yeah.
vacation I'll look forward to the plane ride more than the vacation as I was growing up.
Yeah. What so when you were when you talked about, living near JFK and looking up in the sky, like how old, if you can remember, do you know about how old you were at that time?
Young, maybe like 5,
5,
just really
yeah.
young.
Okay.
Time
Man, that's
blurs as you get older, so it's like harder to
yeah.
call like what year.
Yeah. Man, you still a young man, dude.
Yeah,
What are you,
I barely remember
20?
what happened.
How old are
27,
you? 27?
27.
Okay. Yeah, you young, bro. But nah, I feel you though. No, you right.
I barely remember what happened in high school.
Really?
Yeah, time
Well, you've
flies.
been on your grind. You've been on your grind ever since, man. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense in a way, because thinking about it now, why you are where you are right now at the age of 27, that actually kind of explains a lot. Because I actually heard something the other day. I don't even remember who said it or where I saw it, but they said, in order, I think it was an ad actually on Spotify. I think, because I don't pay. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I was at the gym, and I don't pay for Spotify. I just got the free joint, right? So, in between, my music or whatever, I think an ad came on. But anyway, they said whoever was talking said, in order to learn something, you have to forget something else. And I was like, dang, I never heard that before. But like, I could kind of see how that, you know what I mean? Because obviously, your brain, your bandwidth is only so much, right? So you
Yeah,
can only,
yeah,
you can only compartmentalize so much information. So you probably had to, kind of forget about a lot of things in order to
yeah,
learn
yeah.
about a lot about what you were doing. Um, so okay, so that was your start, right? So you kind of knew from an early age, like a little kid, like looking up, kind of like a lot of us, right? Like, man, that is just the coolest thing I've ever seen, right? So at what point did you like kind of take action? Like, at what point, how did you kind of actually get started in aviation? Like,
Well,
what made you
first I
start
used
your
to play
first?
like a lot of like flight simulator and stuff.
Okay.
Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I just kept playing that for like hours, and like any aviation related like games,
Yeah.
like Ace Combat. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah. Definitely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I used to play hours in Ace Combat and all those games, and it's just like it was just exciting, man. I was like, I know this is what I want to do. So
Yeah.
after high school, I was a mechanic for Mercedes Benz and Toyota, and I was doing it. I was making decent money, and I actually enjoyed working on cars. But like as the summer progressed, and I was working mechanic for at least like already 4 years, 3 years by the time before I went to college, and I
Mm.
was like, I just kept thinking about the planes, man. So then I applied to Bond College of Aeronautics Technology up in New York, and I started in the aviation program. And it was weird because I never met people that like airplanes,
Yeah.
except my dad. So
Right.
I thought I was weird, because I'd be in high school, and if like I ever bring it up, like it was just like weird. But once I did the open house, and I realized like it's normal to like airplanes, and meeting
Yeah.
all other people that like as just as nerdy as you about airplanes,
Yeah.
like I was like, all right, this is where I belong. Like I'm not
Mhm.
weird, It's not
Yeah.
unique. Like so that was cool, and that was like a morale booster. Like okay, this could be done. Like it's possible.
Yeah.
And then and like when you go to college, you start meeting people that's like more advanced than you, like juniors and seniors. That's like flight instructors. You have people that just graduated that's working at the regionals and flying different airplanes and stuff. And it's like,
Right.
wow, this is obtainable. Like it's not like a fairy tale dream. So
Hmm.
I went to college for it. I majored in aeronautical science, and then I did my flying actually at Positive Rate Gear Up, which up in New York,
Okay.
similar name to what you have.
Yeah.
Did it in New York. It was a funny story of how I found the flight school. So I did an intro flight at a different flight school, and I was talking to the flight instructor like after we landed. Um, so I'm Dominican, and he was Dominican too. So he just told me straight up, he's like, "Man, do not go to this flight school. There's this flight school across the field that's like way better. It's more laid back. It's like a more mom and pops type thing." And the
Hmm.
owner, he's Jamaican, and like he's about like getting everybody into aviation and like trying to help people get in. He was not like all about the money. He was more of like trying to get people in, and like trying to get people to achieve their dream. So I
Right.
met up with the guy, and it looked like a very good school, and I got my instructor, and he was highly experienced, and he really pushed me, and I just racked out all my training: private instrument, commercial, CFI,
Wow.
CFII. That's how I got started.
Yeah. So that was in New York City as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, out of Farmingdale, Long Island.
Okay. Now, I'll be honest with you. And this is just my ignorance of not being, I guess, super familiar with New York. But I didn't even realize that the GA presence. I mean, I know GA's everywhere, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess I'm just thinking New York, obviously big city, biggest city in America.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
with all the Bravos everywhere, with Newark right there, JFK, LaGuardia. I'm just like, where do these guys fit in, right? Into the picture. Obviously, kind of getting into aviation a little bit deeper, I kind of have a better understanding of how all that works. But it's just interesting to hear that, man. When I think G, I think about a lot less populated areas, kind of like where I'm at,
Yeah, yeah,
down
yeah.
here. So, But no, that's dope. So one thing I want to talk about real quick because I just love asking people this. When you mentioned your discovery flight, what plane? What was your first discovery flight in?
It was a Piper, of course, only the best.
Oh man, okay, only the best. So what? So you don't rock with Cessnas like that?
Nah, not really. I fly them.
Yeah.
It was weird though, cause like I was struggling. I had like 100 hours, and I was struggling with my landing still. And the Cessna did really help me click my landings.
Mm,
Like the way the Cessna flies,
yeah.
it really like something clicked when I flew the Cessna, and it really helped my
They
landings.
like to
But
float, man.
yeah, so then like I learned how to like you just gotta keep holding it off, and
Hmm.
it was weird. It taught me something, and it clicked. And ever since
Yeah.
then, my landing's been good. But like I'm a low end guy though for sure. Like
Yeah.
Piper is the way.
Yeah.
Like if I
Yeah.
were to ever buy an airplane, I'd get a Piper or something.
A low wing. And I'll be honest, I probably would too if I was actually in the market to buy one, just because they actually look more like a real airplane, right? But obviously, the 172 has that's what I've done all my training in. The first, and I've told this story before on previous episodes. Anybody that's watching's heard this, but the first time I've ever been in a GA aircraft was actually a Piper Archer. Had a buddy of mine who he was in this flying club out in KC, and yeah, man, came and picked me up. Piper Archer, like we flew around for maybe I don't even remember how much time we logged, but um, yeah, maybe roughly about an hour. And yeah, man, kind of like what you said before. Like I kind of knew that's what I wanted, not only wanted to do, but was meant to do. If it makes
Yeah,
sense, you know
yeah,
what I mean. So, but never look back. But it's kind of weird. That was my first experience, but then I've been in the 172 ever since, and obviously that's my baby
yeah.
now.
I got a lot of time in Cessnas too, but I always prefer the low wing.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So yeah. All right. So you were at the school in Farmingdale, and you completed all your ratings there, and then did you end up instructing at that same school?
Yeah, so I took actually a few month break between my
Okay.
commercial and CFI because my college there was this program. It's like a summer internship with Delta Flight
Okay.
Operations up in the headquarters, and nobody in the school ever did the internship. So I was like, you know what? Let me try to be the first person. Um, I didn't even think I would get it because usually like there's 1,000 more people apply and only like 4 or 5 candidates actually get in. And
Wow.
I just applied to applied. I had an interview. And funny story, the interview was over Skype, and I totally forgot about the interview. Like totally forgot about the interview. And they called me and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna get you on Skype in 5 minutes." So I was like, "Oh shoot!" So I run downstairs, set up my computer, my laptop at the time. I put on a shirt with a tie and no pants because I didn't bring down my pants or anything. So
Oh
then I
wow.
go down, I'm sitting down like this, I don't have no pants under, and interview's going pretty good. And then my house phone rings, and I'm like, oh shoot, because like I at this point I can't get up and like hang up the phone because I don't got no pants on. So I was like,
Oh
shoot, what am I gonna do?
yeah.
So I was able to like think really quickly. I muted the mic and I pretend to keep talking like we lost connection or something. And I just kept talking with the mic muted.
Yeah.
And then they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you." And I keep talking. And then like after the phone rang up and the whole voicemail got off, and I unmuted.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you guys didn't hear what I was talking about?" And I was like,
Wow.
oh, "Yeah, it
Business
was
up top,
funny."
man. Party on the bottom. That's funny.
Yeah, but then I luckily I got the internship, and I was there from I want to say end of August all the way to like January.
Mhm.
And it's probably one of the best experiences of my life. So I'm so happy I got to do it. It
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
was like the best time of my life. It was a
Yeah.
lot of hard work, but the best time of my life.
What would you say with that internship experience? What was the biggest like benefit to that,
Um,
or biggest perk, or
well,
whatever?
well, the biggest perk is that you're working with a lot of higher ups in Delta. So like I was working with like director managers, like I met the CEO, like the
Oh
vice
wow.
presidents, the chief pilots. So I got to interact and rub shoulders with all the higher up people. And then at the end of the internship, they keep a file on you, and they want you to come back as a pilot because one of the requirements was that you needed like your instrument working on your commercial. So the internship was geared more towards pilots and people who want
Right.
to come work at Delta.
Right.
So it kept me like a foot in, where like
Mm,
when I have my hours and stuff, like I'm gonna get an interview if I did good on the internship.
right.
But even if I didn't work at Delta, I would still recommend doing it because it was like one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Yeah.
Just working there, just like being able to do cool stuff, like being able to jump seat on different planes, you know,
Yeah.
being able to go into simulators. Like I've been in the simulators a few times. That was cool. And they treated you like a grown adult. So I was working on like some really cool projects, like sitting in on meetings with like the CEO and the line check airmen and
Wow.
like really cool stuff and like
Yeah.
seeing like the other side of the operation
Hmm.
and it was just really cool.
Yeah.
Like it
You
was
got to
like
see like
10
the
out of 10
actual.
experience.
You got to see the actual business side of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, which kind of
it
brings
was.
everything kind of into full like that perspective. You know what I mean? It kind of gives you that full like scope, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it was really cool, and I definitely
Okay.
recommend it to anybody who's in college. And
Yeah.
every airline has it. I think American, United, FedEx. Pretty sure all the big airlines have a flight
Yeah.
operations internship, and
Yeah. The internships and the cadet programs are pretty cool too.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
having flight benefits too, because we all of us will travel on the weekends. So every weekend
Hmm.
we would go somewhere like Madrid or Prague or something.
Wow.
Go there for the weekend, hang out, come back, go back to work, and it was cool, man.
That's what's up, dude. What so kind of going back to your training for a second, because I wanted to ask you this. What would you say was your most challenging, like, of all your ratings?
Most challenging. Um, I would say probably the private.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I just think the private is because everything's new
Mm,
and just everything's fresh and there's so much maneuvers and so much to know and like you don't have any like experience to lean on.
right.
Whereas the instrument rating, like I don't know, I feel like it was not that difficult. Like I knew how to fly the airplane. It was just more or less getting the concept down. And once you know, like just follow the needles and just set it up
Yeah.
correctly.
Right.
It's I don't know, I didn't find it too difficult.
Yeah.
Commercial, it's just more maneuvers, but you know how to fly the airplane, you know how to flight plan, you know how to do most of the stuff, so it's not really difficult.
Right.
Uh, the second hardest, I would say, is definitely the CFI,
Mm,
just
okay.
because there's so much to know, and now you're trying to like fly and teach somebody at the same time, and it's like at first it's kind of overwhelming,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
flying from the right seat.
I
So
can
I would say
imagine.
that definitely is the hardest.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, I don't know. I might have to take that back. I think the hardest training was definitely my first airline training.
Mm,
The private
okay.
was difficult, but like, so everybody talks about get your 1,500 hours or your 1,100 hours. Just get your hours and, just go to an airline or go to a corporate job, right? But then when I realized when I got there, it's not about the hours, it's the experience that you carry going into that job, right? Because you could have 1,500 hours of banner towing, never flew IFR, never gone into busy airspace, never shot approaches, this and that. But then when you go into like a corporate job or a airline job, like you're really hammering down on IFR, procedures, regulation, like weather minimums, pretty much everything comes together. And it felt like my private again, when there was
Mm,
a lot of stuff I didn't know and there was a lot of stuff to know and a lot of stuff to learn and a lot of new concepts coming on, you know. So I would say behind the private, definitely my first airline training. But
right.
I would say they're almost equally difficult. It's just that the private was difficult for a longer time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you say your first airline training, did you mean like for the specific type rating, or are you talking just in terms of like ATP, like in general?
Just in general, because
Okay.
it's not only the plane, it's the regulations, because the regulations
Okay.
are totally different from 91.
Right.
So like the regulation, there's so much more manuals. Like you have like company procedures, company policy. Now you have like you know how you use checklists and stuff before? Now it's all flows, and the checklist is just to
Mm,
like back stuff up. It's like it's a different way that you're used to doing stuff, and like for me, it's just really different. Just like how the
yeah.
private was different, it was just a really different thing. And I see a lot of people failing like their initial like airline training just because it's so different, and they're not fully prepared, or they don't take it seriously beforehand,
Mm,
right? They just looking at, like I said, the number, so they're
right.
saying, oh, 1,500 hours, I'm good, I'm going to the airline training. But like you have to really prepare yourself, get
Yeah.
IFR proficient, make sure like approaches and holds and all that, like you have it down in the back of your mind, like in the back of your
Hmm.
head. So when you actually fly in the airplane and stuff, it's less you have to think about.
Right. Right. Um, man, that's what's up. So what was so when you got your CFI, even though that was challenging, you kind of accomplished that. What would you say was your favorite to like instruct from an instructor standpoint? Like, did you kind of prefer teaching the private students, instrument, commercial? Like, what would you say was like, what did you enjoy the most?
Um, Personally, I'd probably say the best satisfaction is you get is definitely private.
Okay, yeah,
Just like from a
taking them,
satisfaction,
yeah,
yeah, it's
zero to hero.
just like zero, like they do not know anything. To them, seeing them their first solo and then just seeing the excitement and stuff,
Yeah,
it's amazing. And just like, especially when they pass their private and they get the first license, just I don't know, it
yeah,
makes you feel good, and it feels like you really help somebody achieve their dreams, where you don't really get that as much when you get into the higher level students, you
yeah,
know. And the higher level students, it's hit or miss. So if I start a student from a private and I build them good habits from the beginning, like later down the road it was way easier, that student. But like if I were to inherit like a instrument or commercial student that had like really bad habits and stuff, like it was not that easy, because then like I have to break those bad habits, reteach them a certain way, and then when somebody does something for so long, it's hard to
it's
like
hard.
completely
Yeah,
change like how they're doing it. So I wouldn't say private or commercial is easier, just depending on the student really.
right.
But just the satisfaction of private students working their way up, I think that's what I enjoyed the most, definitely.
Okay, that's what's up, man. So you got through the instructing, and then so kind of talk to me about your first job after once you got to your. Did you have a restricted ATP through that college, or did you just have the regular 1500
The regular, because I didn't do their full one. I went part
141?
61.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
part
that's right.
61 guy. I'm a
Got you. Okay.
cowboy. Uh I
Yeah.
didn't do the 141 stuff for multiple reasons, but I just like the reason I didn't like part 141. It's structured, but they don't teach you real world stuff. It's more like, here, follow this syllabus.
Mm,
Just like you got to get it done this way. You got to do these lessons. There was no leeway on what you could do.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I had a very experienced instructor, so he was really good. And sometimes we would just take fun flights to like Montauk, grab dinner or something, come back, and then like my hours was just like the time building phase for like instrument and commercial.
Commercial.
Like I just went to like I do Florida trips or something. Like there was just so much flexibility. So like
Wow.
I'd get like two or three friends. We'll go to Florida for the weekend, come back. We'd go down to like fly in.
Hmm.
Hang out there for the weekend, come back. We could split the cost and do safety pilot. Like there was just so much more
Yeah.
like stuff we could do. And yeah, I turned out a decent pilot, so I don't think it went that wrong.
Yeah. I don't think
But I
anybody
could,
would argue that.
yeah, I just think really it just depends on the person. If you're a person that needs structure and like you're not self motivated and stuff, 141 is the way to go. But 61, if you
Hmm.
get a decent instructor and you're really like pushing yourself and you're really, really hitting the books and stuff, like, I've seen good 141 pilots and bad 141
Yeah.
pilots. I've seen all. everything in between. So I just feel like mostly from what I've seen, the good students versus the bad students, or the bad pilots versus the good pilots, is the motivation level and how much you're
Mm,
putting forth to the table. Like
yeah,
how much work you want to put in is how much, like how your skills is gonna develop.
right, right. Yeah, I think and I definitely appreciate you, kind of shedding light on that. But one thing to add too, as a 141 guy, right? I think it's like situational too. You know what I mean? Because um, like you said, a lot of it is that intrinsic motivation has got to be there, right? But when I say situational, like so for me, the reason why I am 140, I would love to go 61, but obviously, as we both know, how expensive aviation is. 141 was the way to go for someone like me. And obviously, I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. But this is just for anybody that might see this. Um, you know, to get in that GI Bill to like pay for to fund my flight training, right? 141 was the way to kind of maximize those
Yeah,
funds and kind of make that happen. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like you said, yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, we have very little wiggle room within our syllabus, right, with the 141 program. But with that, like that motivation definitely hits different. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
And also, like, I got to experience stuff that like you wouldn't experience in a 141 school. Like, for example, like I know you guys have policies on weather and stuff. And
hmm
what I liked about 61, if it was a rough day, but it was still within limits, my instructor would be like, "Oh, it's a 20 knot, almost 20 knot, 17 knot crosswind today. Let's just go up, practice crosswind landings." You know, and
yeah,
it helped me as a pilot because like I wouldn't have gone by myself. But now I
right,
have this 5,000 hour instructor that's like, "Hey, let's go up, let's practice crosswind landings," and it just I'm with somebody. And I feel like it's better to do it with a highly experienced guy than you going out one day on a commercial cross country and the wind picks up and now it's your first time doing a max crosswind, by
oh
yourself. So
yeah,
like, we'd fly actual IFR and shoot actual approaches and like, build up my confidence and skill set. And I feel like that's one thing like I really appreciate, especially of my instructor.
yeah,
Um, and the second thing and why I didn't do 141 for me, like the 1,000 hours, for me, like an extra 500 hours of experience before going to airlines it's not a big deal, like getting on another 500 hours of experience. I don't see an issue with that. Like, yeah, I
yeah,
could get in with 1,000, but it's like as an instructor, another 500 hours would have been like 7, 8 months, and
right, yeah,
like
yeah,
more time to prep and like me to get my skills better.
yeah,
So,
for sure. Okay. So, what was your first type rating?
um, so my first type rating wasn't really a type rating. So when I was around 1,100 hours, I was really thinking about it, and I felt like going from like a Piper Warrior, a Cessna 172,
Yeah.
to like a Embraer 175, which is a highly automated, jet. I think like there was something fundamentally missing there, you know, where most people go back in the day, they go from like a Cessna to like a multi-engine to like a King Air or some type of turboprop, then to a jet. I felt like there was this middle block missing. So I wanted to fly a turboprop, you know. Because I also thought about it like, you only have one life to live. Like it's a journey, it's a marathon, not like a rush, Like I want
Right.
to enjoy the journey as I went. So then I was looking at turboprop jobs, and my friend got me into Tradewin Aviation, and they fly PC-12s in the Northeast. So going to the islands like Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and then they also fly it down in Puerto Rico. Where you're doing the St. Barts and all the Caribbean flying in the
Wow.
PC-12. So that's why I started off my journey with 1,100 hours. I went to Tradewin Aviation, and that was my first serious training flying the PC-12. Um, and that was a great experience.
Wow.
It was probably the hardest training I went through. I was just new shooting approaches, like high performance airplanes, like
hmm
high speed, getting like it's so easy to fall behind the airplane. And my
Yeah.
first time with a QRH, and like call outs and like a multi-crew scenario where like you have specific tasks and stuff. It was definitely different to what I was used to.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we used to fly into very busy airspace in our airplane. So like I was based out of White Plains. We're going to Teterboro and we're going to like all
Yeah.
the day. We go to JFK, LaGuardia. Like we'd get into very busy airspace with this airplane. So it was eye opening and it was a great experience.
Hmm.
Especially like dealing with icing and like troubleshooting issues sometimes and shooting approaches down to minimums is
Hmm.
it's really eye opening and it was a
Yeah.
great experience. So
Did you
that's
have
where
your?
I went.
Oh my bad.
Yeah, that's where
Did you
I
have?
went. I was just finishing up. That's where I went after I
Yeah. No, you just made me think of
instructed.
something else though. When you talked about icing, I didn't even think to ask you this before, but emergencies. Did you deal with kind of? Have you dealt with any? I'm sure you probably have at this point, but have you had many emergencies along your journey, or?
Knock on wood, I have never declared an emergency yet in my career.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're not gonna put that out there. My bad. I just assumed
Yeah.
maybe by this point you had, but okay. Well, that's what's up,
Nah,
man.
I
I'm trying
mean
to
we
be
had
like you.
issues and stuff. Yeah, we had like small issues and stuff.
Yeah.
The closest I was to declaring an emergency was probably in a Warrior.
Okay.
Um, my heart sank. I was on an intro flight in a Warrior. We took off, and then right after takeoff, the engine was like super rough. The
Mm.
RPMs dropped down to 1800 RPM. The engine was like backfiring like crazy, and I was just like, my heart sank. So I right away like grabbed the controls. I turned down when a tow tower had to come back right away, and
Yeah.
we was on the downwind, and she was like, "Oh, you're number four, extend downwind." And then in my
You're
mind,
like,
I was
nah.
like, I was thinking about it. I was about to extend down, and I was like, "Man, if this engine quits and I didn't make it back to the airport because my idiot extended
Mm.
downwind, like this would be so stupid." And I told them like, "Hey, I need priority landing. Like I need to come in now." And they're like, "Okay." And then they broke off two people off final, and they turned me right in, cleared me to land.
Good.
You
Good.
know, and they asked me if I needed any assistance, but and I told them no. I just went back to the ramp. But if they were to tell me like negative and continue on down, then like I would have to declare an emergency and use that emergency authority to tell them like, "Hey, I'm declaring an emergency. I'm coming in now."
Right.
You
Right.
know, so I was like, based on their response, like I was this close to declaring an emergency,
Oh
but
yeah. 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 Number four
um,
when with engine backfiring is definitely not something that you ever want to hear.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
I figured out the problem when we got on the ground. We completely lost one magneto,
Mm.
like completely lost. And that engine, like they say, the engine runs on two magnetos, but man, it runs so rough.
Yeah.
It is
On
crazy.
one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
Wow. That's something that I
especially I had.
hope I never experience, man.
Yeah,
Um.
it's
So okay, so you flew the PC-12, and then kind of how did you transition from that into the jet world? Like how did you kind of finally break away?
um. So it was weird. So how I found my other corporate job, it was actually through Facebook. Believe it or not, Facebook has so many job opportunities. It is
Wow.
ridiculous. Like if you want a corporate job, Facebook has so many job opportunities. So I'm like on a few like aviation job posting pages. I was happy at my current company. Um, I was a captain at Tradeway. I was making decent money, and I was just scrolling through Facebook one day. I remember it clearly. Like I was at the mechanic shop getting my car fixed, and I'm just scrolling through Facebook, and I see this job posting about PC-12 captain in Long Island for NG, and they said they wanted 500 hours multi because you would also be flying a jet at the same time. And I was like, oh. So I put my application. I hit up the guy on Facebook. Sent him my resume, and then since I was based out of Farmingdale and that job was based out of Farmingdale, like I knew a lot of people in Farmingdale. So I called a few buddies, and they're like, "Yeah, we know that company. Like, it's a really good company." And they called the chief pilot and the director of operations there, and they put my name down because my friend actually like grew up with the other guy. Small
Mm,
world, like everybody
yeah.
knows everybody.
Yeah.
So then the guy was like, "Oh, I have his resume right in front of me. I'm gonna give him a call." Blah blah blah. And so the rest was history. I went to the interview, got the job, and I was flying the PC-12 for a few months, and then after a few months, they what put me in training for a Gulfstream 450 550,
Wow.
and
And
then
they paid for that?
yeah, they paid for it,
Wow.
and so I started flying up the Gulfstream, and it was amazing, and that was my
Man.
first type rating the Gulfstream. That training wasn't as difficult just because I was already doing turbine operations and
Yeah.
flying turboprop, like I said, and I had captain experience, and I've done a lot of approaches, and I'm familiar with a lot of like jets and turboprops. There's differences, but there's a lot of similarities. So the transition was not as difficult, and by then I've been through so many trainings, like initial, like recurrence, captain training, that like I learned how to study for it and how to prepare myself and know what I need to focus on and stuff. So it wasn't as difficult, and
Mhm.
it definitely was fun flying my first jet for sure.
Yeah. It's actually kind of relieving to hear you say that. Because from where I'm sitting currently, that the thought of going from, the piston, you know, prop world to flying jets, like that gap seems enormous, and it is, right? It is enormous. But
It is, yeah,
hearing you say that kind of puts my mind, and I'm sure it probably will do the same for some other people's minds, at ease a little bit. Kind of like, hey man, like it will be challenging if you apply yourself. Of course, you can do this.
yeah,
And even though we kind of know that subconsciously, hearing someone from where you're sitting today say that, it kind of just gives you that like positive like affirmation. You know what I mean? That it is attainable.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's what's up, man. Okay, so that was your first jet job. And how long were you there at that company flying the Gulfstream?
Um, Probably 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years.
Okay,
Yeah. Then at that point I stopped flying the PC-12, and then I also started flying the Falcon 2000. So I was
okay.
flying the Falcon 2000
Oh
and the
dang.
Gulfstream
And the
at the
Gulfstream
same
kind of
time.
for the same company.
Yeah,
Oh wow. So they typed you in three jets.
two jets. I
Two.
already had the training in the Pilatus, so it
Okay,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
the Gulfstream and the Falcon,
Oh, I thought
and
you were. So is it not the same? So is that okay? Maybe this is my just ignorance because I thought you were flying the G4 and the G550, or is
yeah,
that
it's the
all
same
one
type
ride?
rating.
Is that all the same
Yeah,
ride?
it's the same.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's the same type rating. Yeah, so
got
you
you.
could fly both
Okay,
450, 550. It's the
got
same
you.
type.
How long were how long do those type rating? How long does that training usually take to get type like in
About
the G4 G5?
usually about like 25 days or so, almost a
Oh
month.
wow, really?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I guess like you said, if you're already kind of accustomed to the like turboprop, world flying something like the Pilatus, then it's a pretty seamless transition. I guess I just thought it would be much
not
longer.
seen. It's still different because it's like it's when it's flying a jet. It's definitely a different thought process, and
Right,
the way the plane like flies and stuff, and the amount of power you have is it's
right,
different. But I just feel like it was just easier to adapt for me.
yeah,
But it's definitely still a different experience.
right, right,
Now, once you start flying jets, like a jet is kind of like a jet. So you fly the Gulfstream, you go to the Falcon, like it's the speeds and the performance and all that. It's pretty similar. It's just the
hmm,
systems and like the emergency operations. But once you fly a jet, it gets really easy once you have jet experience.
yeah. So that definitely kind of set you up. So when you get that first type rating, it's kind of like, all right, it kind of sets you up for like any other like
Yeah,
type ride you
yeah,
take in the
pretty
future.
much. Yeah,
I
yeah.
got you. Okay. So you were there for 3 years, and then and that was did that fall under 135 or was that
Yeah,
91?
we're doing
What's the
both.
Like, what's the
91.
biggest difference? Can you talk to me about that, like, real quick? Kind of, can you
Um,
just
so 91 is more owner flying. So the person owns the airplanes.
ah,
So
okay,
you have to abide by 91 regulations. You
got you.
know, meaning whatever 91 regulations you fly now is the same regulations we would fly in the jet. So,
Okay,
like for example, when you shoot an approach, when you part 91, right? You could start an approach at 00, You just have
Hmm.
to make sure you have the flight visibility when you get down to minimums.
Right.
Whereas like when you're flying like 135, it goes by like 135 is charter. So the FAA is more stringent on 135 operations. And that's where you have like a whole set of new regulations that's way different from 91. So for
Right.
example, if you shoot an approach, you have to make sure that before you pass the final approach fix, you know, the minimums is at or above mins, you
Right.
know. Like you
Hmm.
have to the ATIS or the tower, it has to be at or above mins,
Right.
type deal. And there's like a whole bunch of different regulations that you have to follow, and it's like way more stringent than 91. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so the 91 was the owner flying. So the owner owned the airplane. He's going from point A to point B. It's part 91. It's more lax. There's less regulations. 135 is when we're doing charters, and just a little bit more paperwork, a little bit more rules to follow. Um,
Hmm.
and 91 flying was a little bit more fun, just because you knew the owner, like you see them all the time, and it's just more like laid back, like, hey, how are you? Like you're kind of catching up. He asks you questions. He kind of knows about you, and it's like it's more fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoy the 91 flying a little bit more.
Mm. So does 135, does that kind of fit more of the corporate like definition, so to speak?
Um, I don't know. They're both corporate.
Okay.
I feel like when people think corporate, I think people think more 91 though.
Okay. Hmm.
More like you're flying an owner's Gulfstream or something. I think
Right.
people, when they corporate, that's what they think about. They don't
Right.
think about
Yeah.
doing 4 legs a day, doing charter work,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
loading bags
You taking this billionaire down to the Bahamas.
yeah. Yeah, when
Yeah.
people think about corporate, you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to go to Italy for 3 weeks or something. I think that's what
Yeah.
people think about when they think about
Okay.
corporate.
Yeah. Yeah. Got you. Okay. So you did that, and then so what about your kind of your breakthrough to over coming over to 121?
Um, so my breakthrough to 121, like I saw all these people getting like huge pay raises and stuff in the airlines. I was like, because eventually I always wanted to do the airlines. Like I said, the corporate job kind of fell on my lap. I really enjoyed it, and I was thinking about making a career about it. But what really opened my eyes was, one of the pilots in my job, he lost his medical. And,
Mm.
while he was out on medical leave, he wasn't getting paid. And then I realized, like, um, if you have a medical issue or like, there's nobody looking out for you in the corporate world. If they want to sell an airplane or you're out on medical leave or something, like you're pretty much not getting paid. You kind of lost your job. Where you go to like the airlines, you have, short term disability, long term disability, all the type of medical leaves and stuff. And like, with like 30 something years left in my career, I'm bound to get injury or surgery or something to go wrong with me. So I kind of wanted the how do you call it? I forgot the word. It's slipping like that.
You wanted like what, like insurance? You wanted like
Like the stability, kind of like the
okay,
stability,
yeah.
like that insurance, type
Hmm.
deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let me apply and get my stuff rolling.
Hmm.
So I applied to everyone at the same time, and I heard back from JetBlue and Spirit first, and JetBlue like got on it right away, and I applied. I was literally in class in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I
So
remember
then
that.
yeah, it was so quick. So then
Yeah.
I was in training on JetBlue on the Airbus 320, and at the same time Delta called while I was in training, and so then I was like, yeah, it was a tough time because I'm going through my training at JetBlue, and then I'm at the same time prepping for my interview at Delta. So
Yeah.
it
How
was
does
an
that work? Like,
experience.
what do you tell JetBlue in that situation? Is it one of those things where like, hey, Delta's calling? They kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, how does
No,
that
I
work?
just kind of like I just once I got the job and it was a done deal, I just gave them a 2 weeks notice.
Okay. So you weren't
Like
contractually bound by JetBlue?
no,
Okay. So does that not take place until you get through the training?
there's no contract at all at
Okay.
JetBlue, so
Gotcha.
you're free to leave whenever.
Okay.
So I just 2 weeks notice. Once I had that job secured, and
Hmm.
yeah, the rest is history.
That's what's up. So, okay. So that was Jet. So that was JetBlue. You're at Delta now. Uh, First officer on the 7576. Uh, how long have you been with Delta now?
A little over a year now.
A little over a year. So, at what point are you eligible, if you even want to upgrade to captain?
It's all seniority based, so it's just if they have the spots available and you have the seniority to hold it, then that's what it is. Before the upgrades was down to 9 months, but now from what I'm
Wow.
seeing, it's probably back up to like almost 2 years right now. Like I'm
Okay.
pretty close to holding it,
Yeah.
but I enjoy the seniority I have, and I really enjoy the airplane I'm flying. So I think I'm just gonna. There's no, I don't know. For me, I don't feel like there's a rush to be captain.
Rush. Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick it out on this airplane, try to get some Europe flights, maybe eventually go wide body FO, just learn the company, enjoy the experience. Like I said, it's a marathon. There's
Right.
no rush to be anywhere. So just enjoying every experience of life, that has to offer. Do different airplanes, get the international experience, just try different things. And then when I'm
Absolutely.
ready, then I'll probably switch over to captain. But that's down the road, maybe 5 6
Yeah.
years from now.
Now, if you wanted to, is that kind of based? I know everything is seniority based, but like, I'm trying to think. Like, I guess the way what I'm trying to say is like, do they is that kind of taken into account with like your base as well? So let's say like you, right? You're right now. You're an FO based at JFK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're based at JFK. If you wanted to upgrade to captain, would you be able to do that at JFK based on your seniority, or would it be like, okay, well, based on where you are, if you want to go to captain, you have to basically move bases to, I don't know, Atlanta.
It just depends what's available, you
Okay.
know. So New York is the most junior base, so most likely, like if you want to upgrade, probably New York would probably be the first place to upgrade.
Right.
Honestly, it just comes down to what they have available and what their needs are at the current time. You know,
Okay.
so if they have need for Atlanta, like 7-3 captain, and that's what's available, and your seniority is able to hold it, then you'll
Hmm.
get it.
Yeah.
So it's what's available, and if your seniority can hold it. Because if
Yeah.
there's like more senior guys waiting for Atlanta 7-3, those guys are gonna get it first. You
Right.
know, but
Hmm.
not a lot of people put in for like New York 7-3. So
Right.
if you really want captain, like you just go for whatever base. But I don't know. I'm not gonna commute just to just for a captain position.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You seem like you're pretty like, I mean, you already said it. You're pretty, happy and satisfied with where
Yeah.
you are right now. You're just enjoying the journey, man, and that's honestly like what it's about. And I'm glad you said that too, because again, for anyone that sees this, man, to hear that it's a marathon, it's not a race. I think people always feel like they need to be at a certain place at a certain time, and really, man, you just got to kind of enjoy where you're at. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done, even for myself, right? I'm like, man, I'm like, for example, I'm like thinking, I'm looking at you like, God, I can't wait to be where he is right now. But I just have to appreciate where I am because there's people that are, maybe struggling to get their private right now. Might be looking
Yeah,
at me
yeah, yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, dang, this guy's working on his commercial, like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
because
yeah.
I remember being that brand new private student, man. So definitely appreciate you saying that. So okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask what's next for you, but it sounds like you chilling. Kind of chilling
Yeah,
where you at.
chilling. I'm gonna see how I like the international stuff, and I'll probably stay on this airplane. I love the airplane, so I'll probably stay
Yeah.
on it a bit longer, and then most likely thinking about like the 330 out of New
Okay.
York and just do a lot of New York stuff, and
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
likely the 330 is what I'm looking for. Maybe like in 2 3 years.
Okay. Um. So yeah, man. Really, before we kind of wrap up, let's see here. Yeah, I think the only other thing I had for you before we kind of wrap this up, man, is kind of talk to me a little bit outside of flying, man. What was kind of your plans like outside of aviation? Like when you're not flying and on these trips, man, what's kind of really got your attention right now? You got any major hobbies or projects or anything like that you working on?
Uh, so on my days off, I like to travel. First of all, I just came back from Thailand, like
Yeah.
a week ago.
Yep.
Um, I always have trips planned out at least every other month. I'm planning to go to Oktoberfest this year in Germany, so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe Vietnam at the end of the year. So I'm always like planning a
Love
trip,
Vietnam. Yeah.
so I have something to look forward to. In the summers, I have a boat in New York, so usually in the summer, I'm just out on my boat, hanging out with friends, doing some fishing. I like to work out, and I'm trying to get into cars right now. I want to get a Miata, older Miata, beat up
Okay.
Miata, restore it, take it to the racetrack. Um, yeah, stuff like that. Scuba diving, just like different things. And when I have time, I'm trying to always build up. Do more hobbies and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's what's up, man. Yeah. Oh, you know what? One thing I did want to talk about. I think that thing is important for people. So, and Mike obviously can attest to this way better than I can. But for anyone watching this, man, I would say maybe not more so, but just as important as everything that you've heard Mike or me talk about today, man, is relationships, right? In this business of aviation, building relationships, being a person that is easy to get along with, being just a solid individual, man, that's trustworthy and and that's got some integrity. And so that'll take you far, right? I think you would agree with that. Like, being a good
Yeah,
person take you very far, and building those relationships is important. So the way that Mike and I actually met was through this organization, PPOT, Professional Pilots of Tomorrow. I heard about them. I actually heard about them through another aviation podcast, ironically, that I was listening to at the time. But yeah, I signed up. It's basically like a mentor mentee type deal. And you sign up, some of their higher ups will contact you. They kind of get a gauge on, your personality and your goals and aspirations, within aviation. And then I guess they will kind of pair you up with someone who's kind of currently sitting in a seat um, where you kind of want to end up, or at least end up at some point in time, and try to match you up. So that's kind of how Mike and I got linked up, man, and kind of was like it's kind of a perfect
yeah,
fit, to be honest with you. Yeah, we pretty much clicked right away. And shoot, man, we've actually been able to kind of link up in Vegas for a few
yeah,
occasions, man, and have a good time. So, yeah, actually, that was the first time we met in person. Actually, met in
yeah. In
person. It was in
Vegas.
Vegas. We had known each other for like a year and a half, man, and you had an overnight in Vegas, and yeah, that ended up being a real good time, man. So yeah,
Yeah,
I just like to bring that up to say, hey, for you guys out there that are kind of coming up, man, do your research, do your homework, see different events, fly-ins, and all different things that you can go to because it's really I wouldn't say it's all about who you know, but that's a big part of it is knowing
it
people and
definitely
people
is.
knowing you and knowing that you're a solid individual, man. So that's kind of my reason really for this platform and doing this too, is to build those relationships, bridge gaps. And I've had people that I know that have linked with other guys that I know through me, and now they're boys and they're cool and they help
Yeah,
each other, right, and grow. And that's really what it's about, man. And that's what I love and appreciate about aviation so much, man. And obviously, you've been a big part of my story and my journey getting started so far. So I definitely appreciate you for that. Um, but yeah, I know we're kind of getting high on time here, man. So we'll get ready to wrap it up. We'll get to the segment that I like to call "Cleared for the Option." Right. So yeah, I figured you would like that, man. Cleared for the option. So like quick compare contrast. Just gonna kind of throw some questions at you and kind of get your take on things. Just something fun for people to kind of
yeah.
see what your take is on a few things. So
Can I go around or not?
uh no, matter of fact, now you gotta we giving you the land and hold short, man.
Yeah,
But now you can go around if you need to go around. Obviously, you can always. There's a song about that, right? You can always go around.
yeah.
So yeah, first one I got for you. I think I kind of know the answer. You talked about it, but 141 or 61.
61.
61. Fair enough.
Yeah. It just depends on, like
V.
I said, it just depends on the person you are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I did 61, so I'm a little partial, so I really
I
enjoy it. But
got
it
you.
just depends on your funds and like what you're doing and what kind of person you are. And
Yeah.
honestly, what I say, it all comes down to the instructor, honestly, of how your quality of training is going to be.
Hmm.
Because you could go to
Yeah.
141 and have a horrible instructor that like doesn't really care about you, just trying to build hours and just
Yep.
trying to get to the airlines, and he's not doing that job he's supposed to. Where if you get like a 61 instructor or even a 141 instructor that truly cares about his students and really want to see you progress, then
Hmm.
the instructor is going to make a huge difference on how you progress and how you learn versus if it's actually 141 and 61. So I say
Yeah.
instructor is
Yeah.
definitely what makes a difference.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I've actually been very lucky on that front, man. Shout out to all my instructors, man. Up until this point that I've had, I feel like honestly I hit the jackpot because not only were they amazing instructors, but they're actually some of my best friends now, which is crazy.
Nice.
VFR or IFR?
Um, so I used to be a VFR guy. Now just IFR, man. It's just so
I,
easy.
is it because you do it every day?
Yeah, it's just so easy. Even though I was
Yeah.
flying the Pilatus, we could go VFR a lot, and a lot of times I just end up flying IFR just because of
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
all the
My bad.
airspace and stuff. But
My bad. Hey, this dog. My bad. UPS just rung my doorbell, man. Hey, yo, chill, chill. My bad, man. So let's see here. Ooh, I might. Sorry in advance for this one, man. Yeah, you can go around if you need to go around. 135 or 121.
um, 121.
121. You
Yeah.
have any specific
Uh,
reason what
um, just
other
the
than the
schedule.
obvious?
I just love the schedule, man. Just knowing my schedule in advance. Well, every
Yeah.
corporate job is different, so you could get your schedule in advance at 135, but just the pay, just the flexibility, just like I go to work, I go home, don't worry about anything versus corporate, like you got to worry
Mm,
about the catering and like there's just whole much more stuff you have to do in corporate, and I'm kind of enjoying this. Go to work, go home, type
you
deal,
leave
and
work at
I have
work.
yeah, and I have more time to do what I want to do, and the flexibility of doing what I want to do when I want to do it, and
Mm,
having the travel benefits and not worrying too much about other stuff in 135 like expense reports and all this
mm.
stuff.
Dang, yeah, that's something I didn't even think about. Yeah, wow. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
what's the least favorite part of your job?
Least favorite part of my job. Um, I really can't find anything. Maybe waking up early, but like I don't mind waking up early, so
Yeah,
I really can't find many negatives.
yeah. I thought you were gonna
What
say
I
like when they serve. Thought you were gonna say when they serve you chicken versus steak up in the flight deck.
I mean, they should change the meals once in a while because I'd be getting the same thing every day. That's the only complaint I have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What about
But
your most
yeah,
favorite? What about your most favorite part then?
um, it's everything, man.
Yeah,
Just I don't know. I just enjoy everything about it. Just the flying, just the cruise you get is like really cool. Meet really cool people, and
yeah,
just the flexibility and just I don't know. I just like everything about it. I really there's not one thing that's better or worse.
yeah.
It's just
You're
overall
living your
just a great
dream, man.
experience. Yeah.
You're living your dream, man. That's what it's about, man. And man, I'm happy for you. I got two more things for you, man. What's your favorite airplane ever? It could be,
Seven
GA, airline, military, doesn't matter. What's your favorite airplane?
7.5.
7.5. Okay, fair enough. And the last thing I got for you, man. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give to someone that's looking to, go into a career as a pilot? Right now.
Um, it's kind of like I said. I'll say one is just your work ethic and motivation levels. Like, it's not gonna be handed to you. Like nobody's gonna spoon feed you.
Feed you, yeah,
Like you're gonna have to really want it, and it's gonna be a lot of hard work,
yeah,
and you can't back down from it. Like just you gotta study, really make it like something that you want to do and make it part of your life and just work hard on it. And, everything else will come together. And also just your reputation is important. Um, you want to have the reputation as a hardworking, safe pilot and like a good overall person because the aviation world is very small and you don't want to be rubbing people the wrong way because people talk and it's a small industry and being a good person and working hard and being good at what you do is gonna get you a long place and you just never know like if that could get you a job in the future or it'll could bring about a lot of opportunities that wouldn't have been there if you was like a person that nobody likes. So
Right.
I would say that's the two things. Just work hard, keep your head down and you just want to have a good reputation where if somebody says like, hey, how's that guy Ricky? He's like, oh nah, Ricky's good, man. He's a good pilot, cool dude. Like that's what you want to
Yeah.
hear from
Yeah.
people when they ask about you,
Yeah.
you know.
Definitely, man. And that's exactly what I'm aiming for, man. Just try to do right by people and hope they do right by me, and then let the chips fall where they may. Mixed in with that hard
Yeah.
work you talked about. So cool, man. Well, with that being said, you're cleared to land, and yeah, man. But no, all jokes aside, this was a lot of fun, man. Again, definitely appreciate you taking the time. I've been wanting to get this one done, as you know, for a while. So
Yeah.
definitely
Appreciate you having
appreciate you,
me
my
on.
man. Yeah, definitely, bro. And hey, if you ever want to come back, man, again in the future, if you want to do it again, once you kind of go a little bit further along with Delta and kind of give us an update, I'm sure
Yeah.
people will be more than happy to kind of hear what you got going on. So, um, but yeah, once we kind of go offline here, we'll kind of do a quick little debrief. So don't go anywhere. But yeah, man. With that, thank you again, and appreciate everybody out there for watching and supporting. So thanks, man.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.